Okay, so we're live, or at very least, almost live. I'll just wait patiently for a few of my stampeding fans to show up. La-dee-dee, la-dee-dee. In any event, hello, folks. Hello to all of you who haven't got here yet. I'll have to say hello again, but I like to keep the conversation lively. Anyway, today's wasn't exactly impromptu. Now, watch. I'll get more people joining me on an impromptu chat with no notification than I did with the show that actually gave, well, albeit a short, but some notification. So, holy cow, look, we got somebody in the house already. Lance Chafin. Lance, my man. Well, if you're Lance, that makes me King Arthur. He who can pull the sword from the stone. I'm sorry, I'm still in Action Elite Excalibur mode. We actually did another show last night on Passenger 57. I had some doozy of technical problems. I gave it my all and tried to make it for the entire show, but I was doing it from my cell phone, and for some reason I was having internet issues, and I kind of faded in and out. But oh, Liz Chaffin asked. Hopefully, you guys can see the live chat tonight. I know we've had issues. Sometimes it shows, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it shows in the replay chat. But Lance is asking me how Ian is doing. The short answer is I'm not altogether sure. I myself and some others have thought it best to, under the circumstances, give Ian the chance to actually come to terms with things himself. Sometimes it's best to let people just sort of do their own thing at this stage. For those of you who don't know, Ian's wife passed on from a long battle with cancer. And we're all pulling for him and their daughter and hoping them the best. We haven't forgot about you, but figured perhaps at this time, best to just kind of let you be with your own thoughts, and you'll let us know when you want to get back in the game. But that doesn't mean we've forgotten about you. We're all pulling for you, and Lance, I hope that answers your question. So, Lance, while we're waiting for the multitudes of other viewers, uh, yes, give some space and time to heal. Tonight's show, this was actually suggested me to me by Terrell Bellinger. No, sorry, Darrell. My mistake. Anyway, he thought it might be fun to do a sort of horror movie show uh, Q&A. Um, he suggested that I'd be good as a horror movie host, and I must confess, it's something I've always wanted to do. Um, I had some great ideas. You're probably gonna laugh, and I'll expand the story a little bit more when more people show up. Back in the old days of local access TV, when there was such a thing, and of course, every county that had a local station in it had people that were going to take the airways by storm and get calls from Hollywood, come out and do your show here. And they actually did a Married with Children just with that concept. But I did some local access TV. I had a cooking show and a film review show, and I'd always wanted to do a horror movie show. And I actually had some great concepts, but by the time I actually got them in motion, that chapter in home entertainment was closing. Oh, Lynn goes on to say, can't wait for the Bigfoot and Wild Boy. Yes, I had stayed in contact with Daily Dan and Mr. Staten, and long story short, there's some way to do live with YouTube. I haven't figured it out where you can actually go live and bring somebody else on board. And everyone tells me it's so much easier to just do a StreamYard. I haven't set up a StreamYard account, neither is Dan. My granddaughter finishes school tomorrow. So after this week, I'll have, in all probability, more free time. And when I do, I'll set up a StreamYard account, have maybe a test post or two with Dan, and we'll get started with our Bigfoot and Wild Boy. Got some of the great ones on vampire comics we want to do, dinosaur comics, a lot to do with comics. He and I are comic aficionados from back in the day, and some other concepts we'd like to do as well. But we've got to open up with the Bigfoot and Wild Boy, and that will probably be, rather than do this little warm up party for Dave Sundstrom, that'll probably be an after party, because one of the things we've noticed is so many people, when Dave calls it a night, so many more people actually want to keep the party going. And Dave usually posts a few videos for afterwards for people to watch and have fellowship. But what we'd like to do is have an after hours live chat where we'll do our little things, and people can actually, shall we say, wind down with that. Um, Les Jeff says we are. I should probably put my glasses on if I'm going to try to read these. I hate the glare that I get from them. We are wearing the same retro shirt from Pat. Yes, I'll take your word for it. I This has become my good luck posting shirt. Uh, Pat McCormick, of course, from the Golden Rage of TV, gave me this retro TV shirt as a gift, and it's become my lucky posting shirt. And so far, I've worn it for every live chat I've done, and actually for most of my non lives. But in any event, there were a few people who said that they were going to be able to make it again, and I'm going to have to keep this to an hour because, of course, as we all know, no one wants to miss Mr. Sundstrom's watch shows. Those are just phenomenal. In fact, to those of you who watch this after the fact, please, please, please check out Dave Sundstrom and the good stuff. His channel. He does some amazing things there, mostly retro TV and movies from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Oh, and look who we have. Lisa Fields says, "Hi, Thrash Pondo." And Lance Chafin says, "Thrash, you need a shirt too." Merchandise is something that I've been looking into. I have a couple of rough ideas for logos and whatnot. It's just at my stage, it's hubris. When you have 150 people subscribe to you, to try to pitch merchandise, you don't have quite the wide enough market. But hey, some more people are kicking in. Oh, the foundation. Guys, you gotta check out the foundation. He's doing some great stuff. He has, speaking of horror movies and whatnot, he does a retrospect on zombies, which is some of the most well researched stuff I've seen in years. He actually mentioned a few things that I was actually going to mention when I do my retrospect on the Night of the Living Dead. This is the Riff Tracks version, which is one of the funniest things I've have in my collection. But he also does some artistic watch parties where he'll do quick little, I don't want to say doodles, they're works of art, but they're rapidly done. And it's just fascinating to watch. It's very, very soothing. Oh, Daryl Jones in the house says, "Hey, Thrash," and hey to you. And yes, I'm going to do my horror theme tonight, as you suggested. Let's see who else we got in the chat. A lot of people saying hello to each other. That's half the fun with this. People having fellowship amongst each other. That's when I'm not the impresario, when I'm one of the guests, getting to chat with other like-minded people who enjoy the same things I do is all part of the fun. But while you folks are having fellowship, yes, tonight is going to be um horror movie, vintage horror movie. I've decided that, as you folks all know, when I started out, I was a sci-fi horror movie and book reviewer. That's what I actually set out to do, and I did a number of those in my early posts. I started doing the dad jokes and some other things. Just doing a little experiment, trying to keep the channel lively. But I don't want to say get back to basics, but I don't want to forget my origins. So you're going to see more vintage, retro, horror, and sci-fi TV, movie, and book reviews. While we're on the subject, any suggestions will be appreciated, and certainly utilized. And I'm going to be doing some trivia. That is to say, I'll be throwing out some Q's. You folks give me the A's. And if you folks want to throw me some Q's, I'll happily give as good an A as is humanly possible. That's question and answer, in case you people just think I'm having a stroke. And let's just see. The foundation says, thanks for the shout out. Appreciate it. Looking forward to what's coming up with the live. Thank you. So am I. Daryl Johnston says, watch those big words thrash. You know, it's so funny you say that. I spend so much time trying to enunciate the words in the post. I sometimes blah, 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 the name of the person, and I don't mean to insult them. I'm so specifically reading their question, I oftentimes skate over the handle. So if I mumble your name, take it as a compliment. It means I'm paying attention to what you're writing. And thank you, and I will. Moving forward. Okay, we're going to start actually with my favorite horror movie question of all time, or sci-fi movie, depending on whether or not you think Night of the Living Dead is sci-fi or horror. How many times over the course of the movie do they say the word zombie? If you have to round off, that's fine too. But just how many times do they actually say the word zombie in Night of the Living Dead? And skipping down. But yes, as I was saying, actually, when it was just me and Lance, ages ago, and I'm sure you folks already know these stories, when there was such a thing. Oh, wow, Lance right out the gate. Yes, 0 times. 0 is the correct answer. Thank you, Lance, right out the gate for a good job. Lisa Fields goes on to say none. Yes. They never actually say zombie. They refer to the undead as those things, ghouls, monsters, but they never actually say the word zombie. Daryl Johnson says, OMG, I think never. Yes, you are right. Now, when there was such a thing as local access television, we're going back a few years now, I actually dabbled in it. I had 2. I had shows. I had a film review show. I know you're going to find that hard to believe. I also had a cooking show, and this is a really good story, so I'm going to share it with you. For those of you who've never heard it, for those of you who have heard this story, you're hearing it again. As most of you know, I used to bartend in a Chinese restaurant. Sadly, it went the way of the recession. But my manager was a master Chinese chef and actually taught classes in the culinary department at a local vocational school. And his classes were so well received, they said to him, you know, you should go on local access TV and do a little cooking show as a hobby. And he started doing it just for laughs, like he wasn't working 16-hour days already. But one of the things we noticed, and I watched the show myself actually, he'd focus on his hands. And when chefs go into the zone, they tune up the world. So he'd be like, so you taste the kung pao and he would just stop talking. So you'd see the hands move and the food being prepared, but no sound. So there was nothing to focus on. So they decided that what the show really needed was someone who could fill dead air. If there's one thing I excel at, it's filling dead air. So I played his bumbling assistant. It was the part I was born for. And every time he stopped talking, I would make fun of his cooking. I would tell funny stories about the guys at the bar. I would just make anecdotes up as I went along, and occasionally handed him a wok scraper or some other utensil or whatnot. And we were doing this for a while, and then one day we get a phone call, and this young lady, she goes, "Hi, I'm blah 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 from the Food Network. Love your show. Send us a demo tape." And after about 20 minutes of, okay, who is this really? I determined it actually was the young lady, or at least someone from the Food Network. And we sent them a demo tape. And before you can say what happened, we weren't picked up. But someone out there recognizes talent. So I've always become enamored with the idea that missed it by that much, and perhaps with another show idea, I might actually get picked up. I know it's a pipe dream, but one of the things I always thought about doing was a horror host show. I kind of grew up with Son of Svengoolie. I won't go through them all. There are a ton of others. Feel free to list yours in the post section. That there are lots and lots of them. But I always wanted to something kind of humorous, where I would take an old schlocky movie, present it, do maybe a few little jokes and vignettes over the course of it, and come up with some great trivia that most people don't know. I've had associates who know more about films than I do, and I always thought this might take off. So, hey, folks, you never know. You never know. Let's see. I've given you guys a chance to catch up in the comments. Oh, Mystery Men and Monsters is in the house. Horror hosts, another one of my obsessions. You know, Mystery Men, I think you and I may have been separated at birth. You and I seem to have a lot of the same fascinations and interests. And I will keep trying to present as many of them to you on my channel as you feel free to observe. Liz Chafin says, question, how did they kill the blob in the blob thrash? Spoiler alert. I'm assuming you mean the original one from the 50s with Steve McQueen. They froze it. As far as the remake with Kevin Dillon in '89, I want to say, double spoiler alert, they didn't. Setting up for a sequel, which never happened. A lot of people having fellowship. And yes, Daryl Johnson also said they froze it, which is my response to the original movie with, of course, Steve McQueen. I'm trying to remember there was a sequel to the original, and I can't remember how that one played out. I'm sure they froze it again. I mean, it's the best way to do it, actually. Daryl Johnson says they packed it in a box and dumped it in the Arctic. Well, if you want to get into specifics, short answer, they froze it. But yes, they did. They airlifted it into the Arctic, hoping that it didn't land on the glacier, which somehow broke free and floated south. Yeah, they always had very sketchy ways of dealing with monsters back in the old horror movie pastiche. As you'll remember, that's the whole thing with Reptilicus. Let's blow it up and then destroy the pieces. Why don't you kill it first and then destroy it as one big piece? And guess what happens? Liv Chafin says, I love Night of the Comet. Funny you should mention that. This is actually one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time. To those of you who haven't seen it, I'm very sorry there's about to be spoilers. This is, and I actually do a review of it earlier. It had some technical problems, but it's still posted. It's almost like a love letter to post-apocalyptic film. It starts out, there's a comet coming by, and all the people want to see it. And so they have comet parties where they all stand outside and wait for this comet to go by, and things go horribly, disastrously wrong. Can you say Day of the Triffids? And two of the young ladies who actually survive, two sisters who survive this cataclysm, end up burning afoul of, well, short answer, most of the people are, of course, dead, but a large amount of the remaining survivors are now turning into zombies. The plot thickens. So it's sort of The Last Man on Earth meets Night of the Living Dead, you could say, only with attractive young women instead of Vincent Price. One of them goes through half the movie in her little cheerleader outfit. Another piece of trivia. Joss Whedon, and I always get his name wrong, but when he was conceptualizing Buffy the Vampire Slayer, was using Sam from Night of the Comet as a sort of inspiration. The sort of hippie cheerleader vampire hunter type. For those of you who haven't seen it, go out and watch it. It's a great movie. And while you're at it, watch my post of it. It fleshes out what I just said in a bit more detail. And let's see. Mystery Man and Monster says, "True Thrash." I'm assuming he means the separation at birth. Skipping down. Oh, Daryl Johnson goes on to say, then it Arctic team found it, and then it turned into the Thing. That would be a great twist. Of course, the Thing was in the Antarctic, and the Blob was in the Arctic. But I love how you were thinking. And I get these pop-ups always come at the worst time. And let's see what else we got here. Lance Chaffin goes on to say another good space horror film is Creature from 1985. I saw Creature when I was in high school, and I don't know why. I honestly don't remember a thing about it. I don't know if we snuck a few cans of cold ones into the theater. I don't know if I saw it at a friend's house and we had a movie marathon, so I saw so many movies that night. I lost track. I don't know what it is. I don't remember. I'm gonna have to go out and see The Creature again because so many people talk about it. But I can't remember it. I'll take your word for it. I'm sure it was very, very good. Let's see. Oh, Mystery Men and Monsters concurs. Yeah, Lance, Creature is good. So we have another country heard from. Oh, speaking of cold ones, I got to show you guys. It's going to come out backwards because that's how my chats work. But it comes out backwards and washed out. My wife got me this. It actually says beer. Is that the coolest thing? Yes, it's neon. There's got to be a way. I'm thinking maybe if I put it backwards and then light it up. Well, it's an improvement. Gotta move the bear though. Close enough. But anyway, it's probably going to end up in my man cave anyway, which is also known as, for those of you paying attention, the bridge. Because of my affinity for sci-fi movies and old war films, the bridge just seemed the best moniker for my man cave. In all the old sci-fi movies, they're always trying to get to the bridge, to the bridge, to the bridge. And in old war films, any war film with the word bridge in the title is a good one. That's an old credo I came up with when I still ran the video store. Lisa Field says, I don't remember either Blobs or either The Creature and another film, or perhaps None of the Comments in there somewhere. At least I thought you said you liked None of the Comment. I thought you said you saw it, but Lance Javen then goes on to say, or The Kindred from 1986. There's a bell ringing in the back of my head, but I can't. Is that a Swedish film? There was a Swedish film that was either called The Kindred or The Brood, and I can't quite recall. But I know I've seen at least one of them. Mystery Men and Monster says, War Movies 2. We are twins, Thrash. Yes, I love old war movies. World War II especially, but I have them from all periods. Civil War, World War I. I even have at least one set during the 30 Years' War, and that's a tricky one. There weren't a lot of movies made about the 30 Years' War. See if you guys can think what that movie might be in the credits. Oh, and I consider this one at least partially a war film. You guys say yay or nay. I was just watching over the past weekend. I saw The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Would you guys consider that? I know it's a Western, but could it also be considered a war film? A lot of the best films out there can actually cross genre in some cases, but you guys tell me. Let's see what else we got here. The Foundation asks, question, Psycho 1960 was the first Hollywood film to show which everyday household item? A toilet. That's my educated guess. Um, I remember hearing that anecdote somewhere, and of course, in the infamous shower scene. And I know all of you already know this, but you can't talk about the shower scene in the Psycho without mentioning this. They used Bosco syrup because it was the one fluid they found that had what Hitchcock felt uh, close enough consistency to blood on camera. Fortunately, it was filmed in black and white, so you didn't notice the fact it wasn't red or sort of red wood in color, which exposed blood generally is. Oh, let's see. We got a bunch of people responding to that. Les Javen says, nope, Zuper, and hi. And hi to you as well, by the way. Superbook says, the return of Martin Gare. Was that the 30 Years' War? That's not the one that I was watching. I know that was set in France during a major war, but I wasn't sure it was the 30 Years' War. But no, I'll give you mine in just a second. But I'm gonna have to make sure. I thought that was in the 1500s, but that was a good one. Oh, Lance Chafin points out it wasn't Bosco. The blood in Psycho was Hershey syrup. 1,000 apologies. Lisa Field says the knife. No earlier films had showed knives, I'm afraid. But good guess, you're thinking, and we love that. Mystery Man and Monster says the 30 Years' War movie starring Michael Caine. Great movie. He actually gave me the answer in code for those of you still playing. Yes, the movie stars Michael Caine and Omar Sharif, and it's called The Last Valley, which is short story, long. It's pictured like the Magnificent Seven if it was done as a war movie. And Mystery Men and Monsters, well done. Oh, and the Foundation goes on to say, which I can't tell because I have my glasses on. He is showing a toilet. He says, "Got it in one." So I was right. You could say thank you very much. Lisa Field says I was wrong. Laugh out loud. Quite all right. Keep playing. No one's taking score here. We're all among friends. The Foundation says not a bad guess though, Lisa. No, it was not a bad guess at all. Possibly the first time we saw a knife in a shower. So you're on the right track. Lance Chaffin goes on to ask, what actor got their start in Friday the 13th? That would have to have been Kevin Bacon. With apologies to everyone else who started it. The only huge actor I can think of who was in the original Friday the 13th was Kevin Bacon. And Lisa Field says yes. Either she's saying yes to our mutual admiration fest for her earlier, or is saying that was the actor that Lance Chaffin was thinking of. Either way, thank you, Lisa. They're actually. It's funny you mentioned for the 13th. I want to say it was Friday the 13th, number 3. How many of you out there have seen Return of the Living Dead? This is actually one of my favorite horror films. This and Day of the Dead came out the same year, 1985. It represented the Romero split. Both were loosely sequelized from Night of the Living Dead, but both went in a totally different direction. And one of the coolest characters in Return of the Living Dead, a young man by the name of Spider, plays one of the punk rockers, is actually in Friday the 13th Part 3. So if you look closely, there were a lot of people who got their start, or at least got a continuation to a fledgling career from the Friday the 13th movies. Let's see. Oh, Superblick says, Lance, you should access Dave Sunstrom's email to get the subscription. That's right. Didn't you win last week? The Foundation said Johnny Depp. I believe Johnny Depp, you're thinking of the original Nightmare on Elm Street. That was a movie he got his start in. Little trivia for you. Before he became an actor, he was actually a musician and To those of you who know the Butthole Surfers, are familiar with them at all? He actually at one point sang with them. And his band that later went on to become the in-house band of the Viper Room, the club he owned in LA for years. One of the members of the Butthole Surfers actually joined him in his in-house band, P. I'm a bit of a fan of Johnny Depp. Mrs. Heard, not so much. Facial. And enough of that. Let's see. Skipping down. Yeah. Foundation says Johnny Depp for Nightmare on Elm. Yes, Nightmare on Elm Street. Yes, Johnny Depp was a Nightmare on Elm Street. Tracy Ross Myers in the house. Yay! Hi, Robert, and hello to you too, Bubba. Good to see you. Good to see you. She then goes on to say, "Hi, everyone." A lot of people wishing her happy attendance at the party. And I believe I'm caught up, so I'll go back to pontificating. And again, Night of the Comet, again, was originally titled Night of the Astro Zombies. It too counts, in my opinion, as a zombie movie. I don't know why they decided to go with Night of the Comet. I think it's because there were so many zombie movies coming out that year. It was sort of the kickoff to the zombie renaissance. I think they were afraid it would get lost in the shuffle. But again, Night of the Comet, it sounds like a teen rom-com. You know, if it's a horror movie, you have to give it some branding as a horror film. Although the opposite certainly worked for The Fog. Another thing, you mentioned The Thing earlier. John Carpenter's The Thing, that is one of my favorite John Carpenter movies. To those of you who haven't seen it, check out. I keep forgetting all the letters are backwards. I'm very, very sorry. There's got to be a way to correct that. But check it. It's actually not. It's not. It's Horror Express with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, and it's not a Hammer film, but it is loosely based on the William Campbell movie. I keep saying movie book. Who Goes There? Which, of course, is the inspiration for John Carpenter's The Thing. In this case, though, archaeologist scientist in the very, 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 very distant Russian outback finds a missing link creature. While he's bringing it back to European society to study it and get rich, we find that it has actually been possessed by an alien entity, and hilarity ensues. I do another earlier post of it on my channel, so if you have any interest at all in The Thing adaptations, please check out my review for Horror Express. And let's see, we've got a bunch of activity here, so I'm going to skip down. Superplex says, all I know is the Viper Room is the place where celebrities get high. That was certainly one of the uses for it. As many of you know, that is the place where River Phoenix was partying when he very, very sadly passed on some 30 years ago. R.I.P. Very sad. But the place, I guess, is being torn down now anyway. Superplex then goes on to say best zombie movie is Zombie by Lucio Fulci. You could certainly make a very, very valid case for that one. He did some really good zombie stuff. Is that the one? I've seen so many of them, sometimes they blend together. Is that the one where the zombie fights the shark? Or is that one of the sequels? Oh, look. Skipping backward or skipping ahead. Here we are. Waj Yaman is in the house. Says hello, everyone. Hello to you, Waj. Waj Yaman, he does some excellent humor posts. Check out his channel. It's really funny. He has some great jokes, some great humor. I've borrowed one or two little bits for some of my dad joke posts. Please check it out. He worked very, very hard and has some excellent results if you like contemporary modern humor. Let's see what else we got here. Gary Carpenter in the house. Hello there, Thrash Pondo. Hello to you too, Gary. Welcome as always. Tracy Rosmeyer says a lot of musicians played the Viper. They certainly did. They certainly did. The Foundation said, I'm learning loads from this live, giving me some ideas for new tiny canvas artwork. Again, check out the Foundation. He does these little micro reviews where he does on the spot art. They're very entertaining. They're very soothing, actually. I like to watch them when I have my coffee. Nice way to start the day. Um, Keeping an eye on the time. Oh, we still have some time. I want to cut this at the 8 o'clock hour because I want to let people love to pour in to uh Dave Sundstrom's post early and like have fellowship, and I don't want to take that away from anybody. So we will be keeping an eye on the time. Tracy asked if anyone has heard from Ian. I'll answer you personally. I know I and a number of others have decided to give him some space for right now. For those of you who don't know, Ian's wife lost her long battle with cancer. The last time I spoke to Ian, he seemed he was holding up as well as could be expected, but you could tell the poor guy was just exhausted. So I've been giving a little space, and we figure best thing to do is we're all pulling for him, we're all praying for him, and when he's ready to get back in the game, we figure he'll contact us. If anyone's heard from him, I'm sure it would be Dave. So perhaps we could mention that when we I'll hop on the air with him. And oh, BK! I saw everyone's all of a sudden saying BK, BK. We have BK on the air in the house. BK again. BK on the air does some amazing podcasts. They're full of pop culture, interesting facts about various. It's like a radio zeitgeist show. It really is. Half the fun is some retro commercials he plays. He also has little spots. Pat McCormick does one as well. He's doing some great stuff on the air. It reminds me of like your old school, old style radio shows where two DJs just talk about the good old days, and God knows we could all use a nostalgia boost every now and then. So please check out BK on the air. And BK on the air says Horror Express, a criminally underrated Spanish British gem. Yes, it was Spanish, actually. In fact, one of the main actors in it, the one who plays the sort of mad monk archetype, is actually an Argentinian actor by the name of Mendoza. There were a lot of actual Spanish speaking actors who had small parts in that movie. So Blex goes on to say zombies are the least dangerous monsters imaginable. Yeah, unless you have 150,000 of them. Daryl Johnson says zombie children freak me out. There's a scene with zombie children in Night of the Comet. Zuplex says if a zombie attacks you, all you have to do is run. They only stumble around. Well, yes, but if they encircle you, that's the problem. It's always strength in numbers. You know, I'll grant you like a werewolf or even a vampire. You know, can usually like get some speed on you, but the zombies is just the fact that there's just so many of them. Lisa Fields says children in horror movies freak me out. Well, they should. There's something very scary about horrific children. See under Linda Blair. You know, I actually freaked Linda Blair out once. It takes a special kind of ability to freak out Linda Blair with the life she's led. She was doing an autograph signing at one of my conventions when I was working for the video store chain, and she for Anchor Bay or something. And of course, I'm a little starstruck because a celebrity, and she's like signing the autographs, and I go, "I'm your number one fan," and she kind of looks at me like, "Oh, great, Norman Bates," instead of Kathy Bates, get it? But she eventually settled down and gave me a very nice. She's a very, very sweet, approachable person. I actually caught her. There was a horror movie that she had done that she had forgotten about that I remembered, and she didn't. And she actually thanked me for it. It was actually a very cute moment. But we'll just skip down. I'm trying to get everybody. Fortunately, it's nice that we have a lot of people now, but we start to when that happens the scroll starts to move faster, and I'm always afraid that I'm going to miss something important. So, Liz Chapman says The Omen. Do you know how they got that? Spoiler alert. You know how they got the final scene in The Omen where the boy makes that really demonic looking smile. The director kept telling him, "Don't smile. No, don't smile. Don't smile. Don't you dare smile. Don't smile." And of course, what's a little boy going to do? And I'm like, wow. So that whole little scene, which is one of the creepiest in American cinema, was the result of just being silly. Just shows to go, yeah. Let's see, skipping down. Oh, a lot of people say Children of the Corn. Yes, there are scary children in that. The actual short story The Stand was first based on has a bunch of feral children in it too, by the way. Night Surfers, I think it was called. I haven't read it in 30 years. But yeah, there's another one there for you. Um, oh, oh, hey, look who's here. Daily Dan's the good stuff. You're gonna have to start texting me when you're doing this. I was napping. I'm sorry, Dan. Yes, next time I'll shoot you a text. I'm so sorry. But hey, you made it. And you're certainly welcome to stick around for. We have at least a quarter of an hour left. But anyway, I'm glad you caught some Z's. Gary Carpenter says, "I don't like zombies." That's the thing about zombies in horror. Either you love the zombie subgenre or hate the zombie subgenre. By the way, question I'm throwing out to you guys, and there's no right or wrong answer here. Just tell me what you think. In the fledgling, embryonic post-apocalyptic film Things to Come, one of the first films in the post-apocalyptic subgenre, there's an ailment that happens as a result of the endless war. They experimented biological weaponry and have what's called the soldier sickness, where people rise from a comatose state and walk around infecting each other, and everyone's like, "Oh!" And I have always felt that was at least in part responsible for the conceptualization of the zombie holocaust. To those of you who've seen the film, tell me what you think. Lens Chaffin goes on to mention the twins in The Shining. Yes, they were certainly scary. So Brooke says, "Well, I haven't seen a single zombie movie." Huh? Not a one? Crazy. Binky on the air says 28 Days Later made zombies faster and terrifying things you can't outrun. That actually, yes, that actually goes back to the Dawn of the Dead remake. I believe it was made in Canada. But the one with Ving Rhames in it. But yeah, they were that was running zombies, and actually, the first running zombies I recall is actually Return of the Living Dead. This is also where they speak and say things like brains, and you have various catchphrases like "send more paramedics" and stuff like that. But yeah, running zombies is certainly a thing now. Oh my gosh, look who is here! Dave Sundstrom is in the house. Dave, how you doing? Don't worry, we're going to shut this down comfortably before your show tonight. And Dave says, Superplex and Lance Chaffin, no need to send me anything. I will take care of Lance's copy of Retro Fan. It will be a few weeks before it ships. Excellent, Dave. And thank you for joining us. Speaking of joining us, Mr. Led says, "Hey, Thrash, just made it. You did make it, and you are always welcome. So thank you for making it." And let's see what else we got here. Lynn Chafin says, "Gary, they're here very creepy. They're here very creepy." Ooh, that sounds very creepy. Elisa Field says, "Poltergeist." Poltergeist I saw that in the theaters when I was like 13, 14 years old. That was always a good one. And let's see what else we got here. Oh wow! Apparently there were we must have gotten a huge. I'm scrolling back and finding all these comments I hadn't actually seen yet. Oh, BK on there says, "Thanks, Rush Bondo, for the shout out." Well, thank you for your great content. Please keep it coming. And Now we see a lot of people saying, "Hi, Dave." Dave. It's almost like Norm in Cheers. Dave. Or Will Ferrell in that Elf movie. Uh Santa. Everybody's like, Dave. And skipping down. Superbook says that movie predicts men in the future will wear togas. Well, when I was in college, I did from time to time, and again, he is referring to things to come, and they're more like tunics. But the point is made. Yeah, he's a little fanciful. H.G. Wells got a little fanciful towards the end when he was envisioning what the high future of the Earth will look like. Hungry jerk in the house. Hey Tom, how you doing? Always nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. And oh, Dave Sundstrom says to me specifically, happy to hang out for a few minutes while I get things ready for tonight's live stream. Oh, thank you as always, Dave. Your presence is praise from Caesar. Kenneth Wilkinson says, hi, Lisa. And Ken, I hope you enjoyed. Today I did an earlier post. It was the top 5 dad jokes of a Doctor Who theme. I tried to get up to 10, but I figure quality is always better than quantity. I'll try to come up with another 5 at leisure. And let's see. Daily Dan's the good stuff says ban Welk. Are we still on that? And Gary Carpenter says, I'm not fond of Leatherface. I've seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. I haven't seen the most recent reboot. I've heard some good things about it. Again, it's mostly like a love letter to the old ones. It's chock a block things were like, oh, that's a reference to that, and that's a reference to that, and that's a reference to that. So I've heard it's solid, but I have seen the old movies. I consider myself a fan, but I'm not a huge fan. It's kind of a one-trick pony. I think the original one was just so it was like The Hills Have Eyes. It was just such a innovative film. It sort of like took horror by storm, and then they just kept making more of them. I did like the one with Dennis Hopper. That one was pretty good. I saw that one in the theaters too. Back, oh god, 35 years ago. Oh, I miss the theaters. Superplex makes an interesting suggestion. Liberace would love H.G. Wells. Okay. Oh, Ken Wilkinson says, thank you, Thrash. No, thank you for being a friend of channels. Lisa Field says, loved the jokes, Thrash. Well, I'm glad people appreciate them. Let's see. Ooh, Leth Chafin says, I loved Suspiria, Dario Argento, a classic. Yes, I love Dario Argento. He always hated being called Italy's Hitchcock, so I'm not going to call him that. But he really did make some very innovative psychological horror movies. Argento, Fulci, and Bava. You have 3 of those guys, and you can't go wrong if you're talking Italian horror. Leone, if you want Italian Western. Although, when he died, he was in pre-production for a movie called Leningrad. It was going to be sort of like The Good, Bad, and Ugly, only set in the last days of World War II. And I am so bummed they have never made that movie. Someone could have picked up the project in the last 40 years. That would have been such a great movie. I can tell that already. Let's see. Speaking of Italian films, remember, there's always room for Giallo. Trey Throws Myers says, 100 plus here in Tallahassee. Yes, you are my Tallahassee lassie. Waj Hammond says, The Hills Have Eyes is a classic. It certainly is, particularly the original. Oh, wow. Get a lot of people posting here. I'm going to have to kick back a little. There we go. Oh, Lisa Field says the new Chainsaw Massacre movie wasn't too bad. It did have some laughable moments, though. They always had a certain amount of humor in them. You know, whether or not it belonged or not. I guess they figure all good horror movies have some humor, whether it's intended or not. Gary Cumberton said, I do enjoy Van Helsing. I liked Peter Cushing as Van Helsing. I'll be honest with you, of the two, nothing against Mr. Jackman, but I prefer um, Peter Cushing. Dave Sunderland says, just posted the link for this live stream in my chat. Hopefully, a few more will join us. Dave, I can't thank you enough. You are the wind beneath my wings, and no, I will not sing. Trither Ross Myers says, yeah, your jokes are the bomb. Boom. My jokes are the bomb. Boom. Well, thank you. I really, really appreciate that. Tom the Hungry Jerk says, I'm a cold weather guy. I get whiny in the heat. Yes, we got really hot up here on Cape Cod for a while, and then the temperature plummeted about 20 degrees. It's actually gotten chilly at night the last few nights. Perfect sleeping weather, although my wife leaves the AC on. But this summer, it's going to get scary. In fact, supposedly Saturday, the heat's going to get not cool. Dave Sundstrom says, anyone else like The Frighteners? I loved The Frighteners. Tracy Ross Myers says, Earl, I just asked about you. And Lance Chafin says, I don't know, I just went beep. And I see why. We have Retro Serial Ian in the house who says thank you. Ian, everyone has been asking about you, myself included. I hope you're doing well, young man. We've been sending you all our thoughts and prayers. And let's see. I'm very sorry. I had a. Well, Linz, I'm very sorry. I saw your question, but it just went whoop off the screen. Thought I could find it, but I haven't had much luck. Skipping down. Retro Serial says that is awesome. No, man, you're awesome. And skipping down. Suplex says a lot of people today. Yes, I was actually just thinking that. It's very nice. Well, I gave a little warning this time. Not a huge warning, but a lot of warning. Zuplex goes on to say those Hammer films were great. They certainly were. They certainly were. Daryl Johnson, you're my hero. He says, please hit the like button. Yes. Oh, and by the way, if any of you in this thread have not subscribed, please, I'm at 149. One more, I got $1.50. I'm at 149. 150 just sounds so much better. So please, if you haven't subscribed, please do. Pardon me. Mike Sylvia, who I just lost. Here he is. Mike Sylvia says, hi, guys. No, he said something before that. Watching Space 1999 on Tubi TV. To be or not to be. I love Space 1999 when I was a kid. In fact, I have a question. A lot of people remember when, Dave, you were talking about how Buck Rogers went downhill after the second, after the first season into the second season. How many people out there prefer Space 99, the second season with Maya? I thought Maya was great. I know some people who didn't. I thought she was great. A shape-shifting alien who was kind of hot. I thought she was great. I think Space 1999 improved in the second season. So anyway, to anybody who agrees, feel free to tell me. To anybody who doesn't agree, keep that under your hat. No, you can tell me. You can tell me. Oh, Mike Sylvia says both seasons were great. And let's see. Oh, we're at 7:57. So I'm going to take a quick read through. And Hungry Jerk says a pickle husband is a German helmet with the spike on the top. A very zen riddle. I'm going to have to take your word for it. Zublik says you deserve 1 million subscribers. Dave says you just hit 150. Dave, that's like 3 things I do things for tonight. The foundation says in my part of the UK, we had a bit of a heat wave, but still rains regardless. Mike Sylvia says 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thunderbirds are go in vivid color. And let's just see. Retro Serial says planning on making my return a week from this Monday. Cannot wait. Count this party animal in. And okay, I think. Oh, here's one. Tom, the Hungry Jerk says, "Love William Castle and Roger Corman movies." Tom, I think you and I were also separated at birth because we love all the same types of flicks. Anyway, it's getting to be just about 8 o'clock now. I'm gonna skip very down to the bottom just to see. Oh, Dilly Dan, the good stuff says you can watch Buck Rogers every Saturday on Me TV. Good to know. I loved Buck Rogers, by the way, but I did agree that it kind of went downhill in the second season. Um, Hungry Jerk says, Tom says, Pluto TV has all the Jerry Anderson stuff. All of it? Really? I was gonna say because he actually did kind of a lot. There were actually a couple when I was reading his catalog of stuff that I hadn't even heard of. Lisa Field says, "See you guys in 30 minutes." Tom, the Hungry Jerk says, "I'm from Massachusetts, Two Ponds." Yes, not Cape Cod. I remember you told me. You're near the Boston area, aren't you? But yeah, I live down in the Cape, which is not nearly as palatial as it sounds, but it has been a little bit cooler these last few days. But I remember you did tell me. In fact, we both commiserated about another Tom, whose last name I will not mention because I don't speak it in this house. And Gary Carpenter says, "I think we were all separated at birth." Dave's taking off. See you in a few minutes, Dave. And okay. And folks, it's actually the hour, so I think we should uh take off now. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Well, I'm going from here to the chat, so I'll probably see most of you in Dave's weight room. Other than that, folks, thank you very much for joining me. I love doing these. They're a ton of fun. Um, when I finally join Streamyard, I'll be able to do some stuff with Dan Staten and others, and they'll be a little more polished and professional and more goodies. But anyway, thank you for joining me for this one, and looking to see you all again very, 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 very soon.